Hello there, and welcome to a 100% walkthrough of Elden Ring by Level Up Pup Gaming. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this series. This is my very first walkthrough and some of my first content that I've ever made for my channel. So I'm extremely nervous, but extremely excited to guide new players or new gamers alike through the lands between. This video will just go over the system menus and the character selection screen. So if you've already gotten your character picked out and you know what you want to do and you're ready to start the game, please head over to the second episode in this series. That is the episode where we will actually start the game itself. This is just for anybody that's just got done installing Elden Ring or putting it into their PlayStation or Xbox and they have no idea what any of this means. I'm going to go through and in this episode try and help you guys make an informed decision about what to pick in the starting screen area. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. As soon as you load it up, it's going to bring this information box up every single time you log in. So we're going to go ahead and read it once just so we know that what's inside of it, and then we'll move on. Welcome to Online Multiplayer World of Elden Ring. This game allows you to connect online to experience a variety of elements that enrich the single-play experience. In order to play online, your console must be connected to the internet. Also, depending on network environment, summoning and matching by invasion may not work properly. Please check the online software manual for details. Server maintenance. We will be conducting server maintenance from 7 to 10 a.m. UTC. Please log out from the game server. And what they're saying is that when they have an update to do, they will roll that update out at 7 to 10 a.m. UTC time. So not saying that they have one right now, but they're saying when they do, this will be the time that it happens and you got to log out of the game then. Behavior during online multiplayer. When playing with other players in online multiplayer, please keep the following in mind. Do not use data that has been illegally modified. Do not play games by using in-game functions in a manner other than what they were originally intended for. No intentional disconnection during play. Do not say or do anything that makes others uncomfortable, is offensive to public order or morals, or violates the law. Do not use character names or other names that may offend others. Do not use your own or other people's personal information in information that is seen by a large number of players, such as names and messages. If you've been subjected to unpleasant behavior, please report it via the support website. Part 2. After receiving the report, we will examine the content and take appropriate action against the offending account. In the report of offensive behavior or repeated acts of disruptive behavior, we may suspend the service, warn or quarantine the designated account, suspend login, or delete the registered data. Please play with good manners and abide by the online service terms of use. And then this is the support website and each URL for the area that you are living in. Penalties for cheating. If any unauthorized tampering with the game is detected, a 180-day quarantine penalty will be imposed. Tampering includes data modifications such as unauthorized enhancement of parameters or unauthorized acquisition of runes, and altering game behavior, etc. Such actions are in violation of the online service term of use. If an account that is sharing a library and family sharing is penalized, the other account may also be penalized. These penalties cannot be removed by any means. Penalties will expire automatically after the appropriate time has passed, as long as the files that have been tampered with are deleted. If the file tampering has not been corrected, or if the files are tampered with again after the penalty is lifted, a new one will be applied. Please note that due to security reasons, we are unable to disclose details such as the verification criteria of the files and the fixed period of time before the warning is lifted. In other words, don't cheat. Video streaming and image posting. We appreciate and support our customers who create attractive videos and still images using our copyrighted game images and screenshots. We have published guidelines for the publication of videos and still images captured from games for which we hold the copyrights. And then these are all the URLs for those copyrights. Game information. Game updates, maintenance information, and other information for players are posted on the following official Twitter account. Elden Ring official Twitter account at Elden Ring. So if you have a Twitter account, you can contact the support or get extra information from their Twitter account. Support inquiries. If you have any questions about the product, please contact our user support. Contact information for each region is as follows. And then here's a list of the URLs. And that's it. So that's going to pop up every single time you start the game. So you just kind of close it out. And then you're just going to see this. New game, system, information, and quick game. Quick game will take you back to your desktop or out of the game, and then information is what we just got done reading. So let's go into system and knock this out. Game options. So this is for toggling your lock, and what you want it set to this: off, on. This, if you turn it onto on, it'll automatically lock on to any enemy that comes in to range of your view. You don't want that. You want to be able to choose when you lock on to an enemy and be able to lock off and run away. This will automatically make you do it. You don't want that. These ones adjust the aiming as you're locked on to a target. You do want that, because if you don't, then your character will just slam down at the last spot the enemy was in, and if they move, then you'll miss every time. So keep these two on and keep this one off. And then if you're playing with a controller and you want to mess around with the vibration, that's right here. Next one is camera options. So if you play inverted and you want your camera to be reversed so that down is up and up is down, then this is where you switch that. And then the camera axis too. And then the camera speed, I've never touched this, and it's absolutely perfect at 0. So if this is too slow, which I can't imagine it will be, you can adjust it here. These 3 things are things that the camera will do while you're in battle, and you really want them on, because if you have to manually rotate the camera, there's some attacks and some moves for bosses that it's going to be really, really hard for you to see what's going on if the camera isn't taking these effects on. So keep these last 3 options on, and then if you feel like you want to have more effect with the camera, you can come in and adjust them. Next tab is sound and display. We got display blood now. You can turn it off or you can turn it on to mild, but I promise you, as somebody who's played very, very violent games such as, the Mortal Kombat series and stuff, this game is not gory. So if blood is extremely disturbing to you, I promise that even having the blood on, it's not that violent. It's like PG-13 violence. So there's nothing grotesquely gory, but if blood is just not your thing, you can turn it to mild or turn it off. I'm going to keep the subtitles on during this, just in case anybody's watching this and they don't have sound on, they can at least still see what the game is saying. Now your HUD is your menu that's constantly displayed on the screen that tells you your health and which items you have equipped and stuff like that. We're going to leave that on auto. If we put it onto on, then it's just going to be on no matter what, even if we don't want it on. And then off, obviously it's not going to appear even if you start fighting. So keeping it on auto will have it turn on every time you start fighting an enemy and stuff like that. So showing tutorials, we're going to go over the tutorials, so obviously we're going to keep that on. Now HDR is high dynamic range, I believe. It's how you adjust the color for if you're playing on a really big TV. So you see adjust brightness and image quality, but since I'm just playing on a 1080p monitor, if I turn it on, this is what happens. So you can see that doesn't look very good. So go ahead and leave this off. Unless you're playing on a big screen TV or something, then this would be how you adjust your quality and stuff like that. Now device for on-screen prompts is how you change it to if you're playing on PC and you plug in a controller. You switch that over to gamepad. You see I got the B and Y inputs for the Xbox controller now. And then it should recognize if you have a PlayStation controller in, it should bring up the PlayStation prompts. But if you're playing on keyboard or mouse, then you just keep it here and you see the keyboard and mouse prompts. And then here are the volume. You can adjust the volumes to however you see fit. And next we got network. So cross-region play is if you want to play with somebody on a different continent or in a different time zone or country, you need to turn this on. Otherwise, it's just going to find you players that are within, I'd say, like within your region, obviously. And then send summon sign. You want this disabled because if you do plan on playing with friends or something like that, and that friend has a enemy or another invader or player that's trying to attack them in their world, then they won't be able to see your summon sign when you write it down. So keep this off so that way your summon sign can be seen at all times by all the other players. And then if you don't want to play online and you don't want the updates or anything like that, you gotta switch this off and do not accept the user agreement. However, we're going to be playing online. This patch is currently 1.08 as I'm starting this, so yeah, we're going to keep that on so that we can get any updates that might happen while I'm making this walkthrough. And then if you're on controller, this is where you adjust your adjust your inputs. However, you might not know what you need to adjust them to until you get a little more familiar with the game. So, but that's where it is. And then for mouse and keyboard, you got the key bindings right here. And then mouse sensitivity, I've been playing on 3 the entire time, and it's perfect for me. But if you feel that's too slow or want it to be fast, you can adjust that right there. And then if you play inverted again, you can adjust this to inverted. And then the graphics. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here, I'm not very tech savvy. So when I started this, I just typed in my specs for my setup, so my computer parts and my graphics card and the resolution of my monitors, and I just typed that info into Google and typed in what's best for Elden Ring, and it brought up some YouTube videos of people with similar setups that showed me what's best to do for a 1080p monitor, and these are the settings that they had them on. So I'm going to recommend that if you don't know what exactly to set your resolution and stuff to, that you go type in your specs and find a video on YouTube, and there's tons of them. People post up that kind of stuff, you know, all over the place. It's information that's very sought after. As you could tell, I was needing it. So just type in best resolution or best quality settings, and this is what I found. All these are the same. The similar YouTuber that has the exact same setup and graphics card as me had this all set up right here. So that is what I recommend you do in order to find the best quality settings for your graphics, because I am not too tech savvy on that stuff, and I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction. This is just what I found works for me, so that's what I recommend you do, is type in your specs, or if you're on PlayStation or Xbox, then that should be pretty easy to find too. So these are all the system tabs. So now that we've gone through this and you know where everything is that you need to find, we don't got to go into that again. So let's go ahead, and once you start a new game, these 2 options will appear. Continue, that'll just continue you for directly from where you last left off, whichever character you were playing last, and then load game lets you pick the actual file that you want to load in, but all you're going to see is this. So let's go ahead and go over the character selection screen. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to tell you might sound, you know, a little foreign and stuff like that, and it's not going to make sense. You might have some questions from some of the answers that I give you here. We're going to go over all of that in the game, I promise you. It is my goal that by the end of this, whether you're a new gamer or just a new player to the series, From Software series, as I was when I started Elden Ring, my goal is that you have 100% achievements. We find nearly every item, we fight every single boss, we explore all possible areas, and we have every possible ending at the end of the game. So if there's anything that I may be going over too fast and it sounds a little confusing, trust me, I promise it'll eventually come together. And then once it does, you'll wonder how you were ever confused before. So in Elden Ring, they let you start off with 10 different classes. You got the Vagabond, Warrior, Hero, Bandit, Astrologer, Prophet, Samurai, Prisoner, Confessor, and last but not least, you got the Wretch. Now in this menu right here, you see down here it says show attributes. So if you press F, it'll show you the level that your character starts at and all of the attributes and their levels. So these attributes are your different stats in the game, and this is what you level up as you're going through the game. So when you go to level 11, you pick which attribute you want to go up 1 point. And then it shows you some of the weapons and stuff down here, but as soon as you click on it, it'll ask you type A or type B. Type A is for male, and type B is for female. And then it'll bring you to this, and you can still access the menu we were just at from here by going to Origin, but right now let's go ahead and type in our name. Woo. And so like I said, over here it tells you your level. The Wretch starts at level 1, and so body type is A, so you can see it turns into male body, and then B. And then your age, as you can see here, it says age only affects appearance, no bearing on ability. Age, or what your character looks like, does not affect the status whatsoever. So you can choose it to go to mature, young, make them look a little older. And then right here, so if you felt like, oops, I picked the wrong one, it's okay. You just click here, and it'll give you a description of each of them and go over the stats. So we're going to do that really quick. And so some of the stuff, like I said, may sound a little bit confusing, but just try and follow. I'll try and explain it as simply as I can. So let's go over the stats really fast. Vigor is your health. So the more you upgrade this, the more your health goes up. Mind is your MP, as in most RPGs for magic points. This is your magic meter. So the higher this is, the more spells you can cast. Endurance, everything you do in this game requires endurance. It has a green bar, and when you commit an action, whether it's running, attacking, casting a spell, it eats up a little bit of endurance. The higher this is, the more things you can do in battle without having to wait for your endurance bar to go back up. So it's a very important stat. Strength and dexterity. Now these two are for weapons. Okay, you got these weapons right here, and they will scale with one of these two, or sometimes both, of these attributes. Now strength is for big, heavy weapons that do a lot of what they call stagger damage. And it is really slow in combat, so it's a real slow play, like a slow, clunky style of long attacks that leave you vulnerable, stuff like that. And then the opposite side is dexterity, which is for fast weapons like knives and stuff like that. And it's predicated on not doing big damage right away, but doing lots of little damage really fast. So a lot of weapons are going to fall into these two categories. If you do both of these are the two stats you decide to raise and higher, then that's called a quality build. And that is what this Vagabond is encouraging the players to do, is quality. Because the last three attributes, intelligence, faith, and arcane, are all magic. So arcane is a little different. There's very few spells that go with it. It ups your status proccing. So statuses like poison and bleed and sleep, those are all affected by arcane. And it also dictates your item discovery in the game, whether you find rare items from the enemies you kill. Faith is sort of a holy type of magic. It has a lot of lightning, fire, and healing and holy spells. And then intelligence is sort of like a icy kind of bluish type magic that deals with, like I said, a lot of ice damage and sort of just what they call magic damage. So faith is done with seals and incantations, and intelligence is done with sorceries and staffs. So those are all the attributes that you start off with in the game, and that's all you get. But a knight exiled from their homeland to wander a solid, armor-clad origin. So this is not a bad one to start off with. Obviously, it's got really high health to start, and the strength and dexterity is at a really good level, but it's encouraging you to stick with these and not have much magic damage in this build. It starts you off with a sword, a halberd, which is a long charging weapon for riding on your horse. You can, of course, use it when you're off your horse, too. And then it starts you with a pretty good shield. Excuse me. And then the next class, we have a warrior, a nomad warrior, who fights wielding two blades at once, an origin of exceptional technique. So this one is the only class that starts with two weapons of the same type. It's called dual wielding, and it's a very, very powerful thing to do in the game. So this is that's the kind of the upside for this character, starting with two curved swords, which is very awesome. And then it starts you with a small parry shield, and we'll go into what parrying is in a few episodes. It's very, very awesome. This one, as you can see, it gives you super high dexterity. So it really wants you to use fast weapons, do a bunch of light dodging and fast rolls and stuff like that. And you can back it up with a little bit of intelligence, or maybe if you want to go a little bit of strength. And then starts you with, pretty high health, 11. So it's but it's more for a dexterity build, which centers around dexterity type weapons. And then on the opposite side, we have the hero, which you can see has high strength. So it's supposed to be for big bashing weapons that are slow but really, really powerful. So a stalwart hero at home with a battle axe, descended from a Badlands chieftain. So as you can see, the arcane is up a little bit because it wants you to use some status proccing and bleed and stuff like that, which we'll go into what that stuff is. Like I said, I'm going to say stuff, you're not going to really understand it, it's okay. But just know that if you like a big, slow, heavy, strong character, this is the class that you want to start with. It starts you with a pretty good axe and a decent shield. The bandit is a weird character. Dangerous bandit who strikes for weak points. Excels at range combat with bows. So it starts with... Starts you with the bow and some arrows. It's a pretty weak bow, pretty weak arrows. But this shield is the best parry shield in the entire game. It's called the buckler. And that's the benefit of starting with this class, is if you are good at parrying, you want this shield. The knife is not very good. So as you can tell, you have high dexterity and arcane. They want this build to be fast dodging just like the warrior, but with the high arcane, you'll be finding rare items and you'll be doing a lot of status effects. So poisoning arrows and stuff like that. That's what this build's for. It's really for advanced players that know exactly what they're doing in a Souls game. So I would not recommend this one for a beginner's class. And then we get into some of the mages. So we start with the astrologer. As you can tell, it has high intelligence. Starts you with a staff, which is what you need to cast sorceries. You cannot cast a sorcery unless you have a staff equipped. And then it starts you with a pretty weak short, I think it's a short sword, and then a parry shield. Now, you can tell that you see the strength is really low, but the dexterity is kind of high. It's the second highest stat, or it's the third highest stat next to intelligence. It's because they want you to focus on lighter weapons. They don't want you to, with this build, it's better if you don't have strong, huge, massive weapons, which is why you also have low endurance. Because endurance also determines how much equipment you can carry. So if you want to do just absolute high magic damage but low defense, as you can tell, low health, this is the class. But if you get hit, or if you find weapons that are too big, you're not going to be able to use them. You're only going to be able to use fast, light weapons along with your staffs. And then on the opposite side of that, we have Prophet, which has high faith. As you can tell, again, sort of low strength. I mean, it's actually pretty decent, but low endurance and stuff. They don't want you carrying much equipment. It's supposed to be a light, fast, which is why they start you with a staff, a seal to cast the incantations or the spells, and then a really dirty parry shield. But again, they want you to focus more on damage output than defense. But on the other side of the vagabond, we have the samurai. I'm sorry, I forgot to read this. A seer ostracized for inauspicious prophecies, well versed in healing incantations. And then the astrologer, scholar who reads fate in the stars, heir to the school of glintstone sorcery. And then samurai, a capable fighter from the distant land of reeds, handy with a katana and longbows. Now this is most likely the character that any new player is going to want to start with. The arrows are amazing, the bow is amazing. Starting with a katana is an unbelievable starting weapon, probably the best starting weapon you can start with, actually, because you'll find another one very soon in the game, so you can dual wield. As you can tell, they have you on high dexterity, but it's sort of the same as the vagabond. As you can tell, all three magic stats are pretty low, so this is more for a quality build, but with a sort of a focus on dexterity, whereas the vagabond is a quality build, strength and dexterity, but with more of strength tones to it. So it's just another option, kind of like the sister option to the vagabond. If you don't like the vagabond starting weapons and stuff, but you still want to do a quality build, which is high strength, high dexterity, this is a good starting class for that. Now, the astrologer and the prophet, they cast magic, sorceries, and incantations, but they're weak. They're weak for physical attack and damage. So these next two, I feel, are kind of the sister options to that as well. So you have the prisoner, so you can still, starts with a staff, so for sorcery, but starts with a better weapon than what the astrologer starts with. And it has higher dexterity and higher, or not as high intelligence, but higher dexterity. So this is if you want to have sort of a hybrid build of melee, physical attack, and magic attacks. This is a good one for intelligence. As you can tell, it starts with high intelligence. So, prisoner bound in an iron mask, studied in glintstone sorcery, having lived among the elite prior to sentencing. So this is actually a pretty good thrusting sword. The staff is okay. It's not as good as the astrologers, but it's, something to start with. And then on the other side of that, for the prophet, instead, you have the confessor, a church spy adept at covert operations, equally adept with a sword as they are with their incantations. So this is the same seal that the prophet starts with. And then you got a pretty good shield and a broadsword. So as you can tell, faith and then high in dexterity and strength. So this is if you actually want to mix in some melee combat while casting faith. But if you just want to do straight magic, then these are your better options. But if you want to do, a little bit of both, then prisoner or the confessor, depending on which magic you actually prefer, but you might not figure that out until a little bit into the game. And then, last but not least, we have the Wretch. A poor purple as sod, naked as the day they were born, nice club is all they have. It starts you at level 1. It's the only character that starts at level 1. And all the stats across the board are 10. So you can really build it into whatever you want, because everything is even across the board. You can just, whatever kind of build you can choose. But the only problem is, starts you with absolutely nothing except a stick. And then this little thing is called a Memory of Grace. We'll go over what that is a little bit later. So, for beginners, I would really recommend picking either the Samurai or the Vagabond. But if you want to do magic, then I would recommend the Prisoner or the Confessor. Because anything else, Warrior, Hero, Bandit, Astrologer, and Prophet, these are for players that actually know the game pretty well, in my opinion. But if you whatever you want to pick, it's totally up to you. And we'll just click on that whenever you make that decision, and then we're going to go over Keepsakes. Now, Keepsake is an item that you start the game with, and some of them are just a joke, but some of them are pretty useful, so none. No Keepsake. The past has been well and truly left behind. Crimson Amber Medallion. Now, these are called talismans. Talismans are an item that you equip. You have 4 talisman slots by the end of the game, and you're allowed to put these in there. They're just equipment that give you certain abilities, buffs, and different things like that. So as this one says, a medallion inlaid with crimson amber increases maximum HP. So when you put this on your talisman slot, all of a sudden your HP bar gets bigger. So that's the benefit of this one. It's pointless to start with it though, because we're going to find it very soon in the game, and we're not going to need it that much. So not a good item to start with. Lands Between Rune. The gold of grace shining in the eyes of the people of the lands between, used to gain many runes. Runes are 2 things. Runes are money, and runes are also experience points to level up. So you get runes, and they go into your little rune counter, but then you also find items that are runes. And these items, you can crack them open and gain runes. So it sounds a little confusing, but trust me, we're going to come across a jillion of these. It's absolutely pointless to start with one. The one that we're most likely going to start with is a golden seed. A golden seed washed ashore from the lands between, said to enhance sacred flasks. So in this game, to heal, you have flasks. Now they let you choose between 2 different kinds, Crimson and Cerulean. Now Crimson heals your HP, and Cerulean heals your magic, your mind meter. You have to choose. You start with 4 flasks, and you have to allocate which ones you want to be which. So if you have 4 flasks, you can choose to make 2 of them Cerulean, 2 of them Crimson, or 3 of them Crimson, 1 Cerulean, or 4 Crimson and no Cerulean. So they let you allocate which ones, but you only get 14 flasks throughout the entire game. Now to get extra flasks, because you only start with 4, you have to turn these gold seeds in. So when we start the game, having 1 gold seed will immediately let us get an extra healing flask for whether we want to heal health or magic. So starting with that, very, very good. Very, very good. Especially for newcomers that, are going to need as much healing as possible. Fanged Imp Ashes. The ashes of small, diminutive golems. Ashes are said to hold spirits within. You know what? I forgot to read the gold seed description, didn't I? Oh, no, I didn't. I read that. Sorry about that. So, in this game, you have an ability to summon people. Now, when you summon people, they are just characters. That tells you whatever summon is there, like wolves. You can summon squids or octopus type things, or jellyfish, I apologize. You can summon jellyfish, you can summon knights, you can summon all sorts of different characters. So these are two little golem imps that are made out of stone. But we are going to get better summons very, very soon in the game. So these are not very good for battle. And 2, we're only going to use these to solve a puzzle towards the end of the game. So really starting with these Fanged Imp Ashes is absolutely pointless. So do not start with these. We will get better summons in the game, and we will buy these later on to solve a puzzle. So don't need to start with it. Cracked Pot. Now this would be the best one to start with, but unfortunately, so it says 3 strange cracked pots that somehow mend themselves. A container for certain thrown items. So you gather material in the game, and then you stuff that material into these pots, and it turns them into grenades. So you can make fire pots, ice pots, poison pots, all sorts of different pots that do cool stuff. Once you use a pot, you throw it at an enemy. The pot is now empty, and you have to fill it back up if you want to use it again. There's only 20 of these pots in the game. If you start with 3, then 3 of them will not be in the game, leaving you only with 17 to discover. So there's no way to start with 3, then find 20 and have 23. Otherwise, that's what I would recommend. No, you can only get 20 in the game. So if you start with 3, it's going to take 3 out of the game that you can find and only leave you with 17. So we're going to find all these. We're going to find all 20, so it's pointless to start with that. Stone sword key. 2 stone keys shaped like swords. Break the seal on imp statues, but can only be used once. There are doors in the game, and these doors are covered in fog, and you can't go into them. Right next to the doors are these little statues. They have imps, 2 of them, one on top of each other. Some of them have a stone sword key inside, and so you have to put 1 in the imp that does not have one inside of its head. Some of them don't have any stone sword keys, and you got to put 2 in there to open the door. But once you put the stone sword key in the imp's head on the statue, the fog goes away, and you can go inside the room to get the treasure or whatever's inside there. So we're going to find these throughout the game, and we're going to find the doors that require them. However, there are more stone sword keys in the game than there are doors that require them. So by the end of the game, we'll have opened every single stone sword key door, and we'll have about 14, 15 stone sword keys left over. So it's absolutely pointless to start with 2. We will find more than we need. Bewitching branch, 5 sacred branches charged with beguiling power, said to originate from the demigod Mikola. So these are items, and you can use them in combat. And when you use it, it creates a fog in front of you. And if an enemy steps into that fog, they instantly become your ally. And instead of fighting you, they turn around, start fighting whoever else you're fighting. So really, really awesome item, really powerful and useful, but we're going to find them and we're going to make them in the game. So starting with 5, absolutely pointless. Boiled prawn. 5 pieces of boiled prawn boost physical damage negation. So this is another item that you consume, and it gives you a buff to your defense for a certain amount of time. We're going to find not only infinite of these, we'll be able to buy infinite of these, but we'll be able to buy a better version later on in the game. So once again, totally pointless to start with. Shibari's Woe. The crazed likeness of a noble whose eyes have been gouged out attracts enemies' aggression. This is a talisman, just like this one. The Crimson Amber Medallion. So you might be thinking, why would I want to attract enemies' aggression? The only thing that I can think of for this, other than it being a joke, is that if you want to have enemies focus on you while you're helping a friend, if you're playing together, and you want to have the enemy focus on you so that your friend can heal or, stay safe and attack from a distance, then you put this on, and if the enemy is coming towards both of you and it has a choice between you or the other person without this talisman on, it'll come towards you most of the time. So it's sort of a bait talisman to get them, to come towards you. So that's the only use for this, so it's absolutely pointless to start with, but everybody should start with the gold seed, especially if you're starting out. Once you get into the game a little bit, you can start, starting with this to getting some level ups or something, or maybe the stone sword keys to get into some places early. But aside from that, we're going to go with the golden seed. Now, we have gone over the different types of classes that you can choose from. We've gone over the keepsake, and all that's left is for you to create your own character. So they got 2 different things. They got base templates, and then they have the detailed appearance. So the base templates does not affect your character status. Remember that. So what this is right here is just for you to pick different origins or different ethnicities for your character, and these are the ones that they have to offer. So we are on warrior, the most common face among the Tarnished. After all, they were all warriors once. Then you have truth seeker, the face of an Austrian pilgrim. There are many roads to the truth. Aristocrat, a regal face found among those who claim noble blood in the lands between. Loner, face found among proud and seclusive tribe of folk well versed in ancient legends and heresies alike. Northerner, a face found among the hardy people of the unforgiving north. Some say they're descended from giants. Seafarer, the face of one who wanders the sea in search of their homes in the land between. Reedlander, a face from the faraway isolated land of reeds, where blood is a familiar sight. Draconian, the stony face of the people of the ancient dragons, among whom life is typically short. Nightfolk, The features of those known as night folk. Few in number, they were said to bleed silver long ago. And then, last but not least, Newmen. The face of the Newmen, supposed descendants of denizens of another world, long lived but seldom born. So, whatever strikes your fancy. So, like, for me, I picked Night Folk on my first one. Actually, I'm sorry, I picked Draconian on my first one. And then the second one, I made Night Folk because I thought they looked like vampires, and that's kind of cool. So you can pick one, and then when you go to detailed appearance, you got the age thing again, so if you want to change the age here, you can. But then you got voice, so if you see down here, it says sample, so if you just click on... So, whatever voice you think you want your character to sound in. And then you go to skin color. You see it says F, so you can adjust it, and it'll take you into the rainbow spectrum. So you can go into whatever color you fancy. And you just drag this along here to change the shade. And then click on that. And then you can go into face and hair, and it'll bring it up close so that you can actually see the character's face. You can rotate it, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. And then here is your canvas. So they got all these options, and I'm not going to go into everything because it is just absolutely staggering. I mean, people get so detailed, they can actually, you know, make like characters from movies and stuff like that just by adjusting these. And it's yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So if you go to face structure, you know, just look at all this stuff. Eyes, you can go up or down. Yeah, let's go down. Make it large. There you go. And slant them out, and then make it wide. And see, I mean, it's just, yeah, you can really get very, very detailed. You know, I've seen people, all sorts of celebrities on here. When I go into play online with other people, yeah, it's crazy what some people are able to do with this. So if you're a particularly talented, you know, artist and stuff, then you'll be able to, you know, really, really do some crazy stuff in this. It gets all the way down to chins. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, there we go. That's starting to come together. That's what I like. That's looking good. All right, and then here you have different hairstyles. It seems to be more like masculine styles up top, and then like more feminine styles down at the bottom. So you got the pigtails and stuff. They just added these ones in, actually. I think these last three they added in the last patch. So I'm gonna go with my favorite hairstyle, which is the balding aged man hairstyle. And then this color adjustment for the hairstyle is the same thing as for the skin. You can adjust the luster to make it shiny, root darkness, and then you can add some white hairs to make them look like a candy cane. Get the eyebrows, different eyebrows. They actually added in a few, I think, too. So let's go ahead and see if we got the closest thing to... Oh, actually, no eyebrows. And then you can match the hair, change the darkness and stuff like that. And then you got eye color. You can make his iris bigger and change the color of the eyes. Let's go ahead and give him white eyes. And you can change the clouding in it so you can see it. Makes him look like he's some kind of crazy magic person. He's got no eyes, but you can still see. And then the skin color. And then last but not least, we got cosmetics like eyeliner. So you can, hey, come on. Sorry about that. You can change the colors. And then you got tattoos. Well, tattoos and marks. So there's different symbols. These are all symbols from the game that you'll grow to know. And then you just pick which one you like, which one you think is cool, and you can adjust the position of it. So just put them up right there. You can just go side to side, and then you can change the angle, and then expansion. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then of course the color is the same thing. And so, after you have made a character that you think you like this, if you think like it still looks a little bit too much like the base character that they gave you, you can click on similar face and it'll give you faces that are just altered slightly, that are generated from, automatically. And if you just click on it, you pick one that you like and then go through and pick another one that you like and keep doing that over and over and over, picking a new face that you like, eventually your character will look completely unique. That's how I create all my characters. So I think our character is looking like the next Elden Lord. Yes, he is. Looking like a Seahawks fan with candy cane hair. And then last but not least, you got the body, so you can make him look bigger. You can make his head bigger. That's awesome. I'm going to need that. Make his chest smaller. Oh no, the head came down with the chest. Don't want that. I'm going to keep the head as big as possible. Make him a little chunkier at the bottom. Oh. Make his arms big. His legs small. And then we can give him body hair. Alright, you guys, look at that. I think this is who we need to take on our adventure through the lands between. The next Elden Lord. I'm going to name him McGruffy McGrufferson. And then once you are done creating your character, you've gone through all the options and you like what you got, you go down to save, just in case you want to save it. And it gives you all these slots. You just pick one and save them in there. And then if you want to load it into a new character, these ones I made for my daughter. And then these ones are all being used except for these three. These three are the only ones that I made that are not being used at the moment. So we're going to pick this one. I know, our other guy was super awesome, but this is the one that I'm going to take through on our walkthrough. I made her pretty much the first week I got the game. And so that concludes everything. With that, you know which character you want to pick. You have your keepsake chosen, which honestly, if you're new to this game, I'm going to suggest you do the golden seed. And you've gone through all of the different base templates, and you went through and you made your character and you're ready to start the game. Go ahead and join me in the second video of this series, and we will dive into Elden Ring, and we'll get through the lands between. I just wanted to get this video out of the way. As you can tell, it took 40 minutes just to explain this stuff, so I know I was a little overwhelmed when I started this and going through the character selection. I had no idea what I was looking at, so this would have been a big help when I started, somebody explaining all this stuff to me. So just wanted to get this out there just in case there is somebody that could use this information. So thank you so much for stopping by, though, and until the next one, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and I love you guys. It's been Level Up Pup Gaming. I'll see you guys later.